Hello, I'm Christian Rieda, and today we are going to do a video about a school practice we have made about cybersecurity, and we are going to see this content that we are going to talk about CyberChef, SSL Labs, certificate with K-Tool, certificate validated by CA, PHP, disk encryptation, and memory and password analysis, and IoT Modbus. We are going to start talking about CyberChef. First of all, to do this practice, we need to have a Kali Linux virtual machine. We can install it in VMware or VirtualBox, and we need a web explorer in our machine, or we can use it in the virtual machine. For CyberChef, we need a web explorer that can be Google, Edge, Firefox, or what you want. And first of all, in the website, we see this screen when we enter, and we have to make recipes to encode something that we want to say, and we have to select here the languages we want to encode the text, and we have to select the buttons that say to base, to hex, to hexdum, and etc. When we click these buttons are going to appear in the middle, that is going to be how are going to encode. If we select first to hex, here it will be to hex, and then we can combine with base and more. We have to write in the input the words that we want, and in the output we are going to have the text encoded with the languages we select. We can send the message encoded to a friend, and we can put it in the input, and if he says how he encoded, we can select the buttons to decode the message, and if we don't know the recipe, we have to try combinations until it gets the code. Okay, SSL Labs is a website that we search in our browsers to see the SSL reports about websites or domains. Here I join examples of different grades about the security that they have. The best grade is A+, that this means that the website is very secure, and the worst grade is F, and this means that the website needs more security and can be attacked. For the grade A+, I search www.dnb.de, and we have here the range with the things that they use to protect the website. For grade A, I search accmijoken.ribam.nl, and we see that this page is grade A. For grade B, I search my school domain, that is monlau.com, and we can see the grade, the servers that uses, and the last time that they got tested. And for grade F, that is the worst, I search sdac.co.kr, and we see that this website needs more protection because it doesn't use a certificate, key exchange, and cipher strength. Now we have to install in our machine in Windows KTool that we are going to need it. We have here the link that is the Java website, and here in downloads we can select the operating system and the version that we want to download. When we download and we have the file ready, well, in Windows we have to go to the system properties and we have to add the path, because in CMD we have to, well, the Java needs the permission to be run. We have to open the system properties and go to variables de entorno. Okay, when we enter, we're going to see this screen, and we're going to see the variables for our user and the system. If we want to use it for every user, it's better to click in system, and if we only want to run in our user, we add in the user. But here we are going to use it in the system, and we have to select path and click on edit. We are going to see this screen which are the paths that we have in our system, and we have to put the route where Java has been installed. Now in CMD we put KTool and we see all the commands that we have available. If we put KTool and it says that Windows can recognize the command, it's because we didn't do well and we have to repeat it. Okay, we are going to generate a certificate with KTool, putting this command. We put the alias that can be the name that we want, and the key file that we put the name that we want. Then we enter a new password and we repeat it to protect the file. And if we want to complete these questions, we add anything, or we can have empty. And when we finish, well, finally we confirm with yes that the information is correct, and it's going to put that it's generating the key. In our user, we are going to see the file that we generated. The route, it appears in our user because in CMD we are in this path. If we want to save in desktop or any other folder, we have to put in CMD in that route. Okay, we open the web browser we want. In this case, we open Edge, and we go to the certificate administrator, and in our certificates we see our Windows certificates that now is empty. we import our certificate by clicking this button. It's going to open this screen and we have to import. We select the route of the certificate and the file, and we continue. We have to put the previous password that we assigned, and we continue. Then we tell where we are going to put the certificate, and we put in the certificate storage in personal. Okay, we are going to see this final screen that we have a resume of what we select, and if all is correct, we finalize. If the password and all the data we include is correct, it's going to put that the importation has been correct, and we are going to see now that we have one certificate. If we click, we can see it inside. Okay. Now we are going to do a certificate validated by CA, and this step we are going to use a Kali Linux virtual machine. We'll have to run OpenSSL and GemK that it's installed in Kali Linux, and in theory we don't have to install nothing, and we put this command with the name of the file that we want, and we're going to see how it is generating the file with the content in RSA algorithm. Okay, now we are going to put this command to, well, in this step we generate the DK file, and now we are going to generate the certificate signed with the key that we made, and we put this command using the key and the name of the certificate, and in this case we put that is going to be available 1 year. We have to complete these questions or we can left empty, and we see that it returns to a normal prompt that the certificate did well. Okay, now we have to use Python, and we are going to create a virtual environment to use the certificate inside, and we have to create it with Python Benv. Then we create the route, and we enter to the Python environment that we are going to see in the prompt. I put my env, and inside the environment we install Flask. Okay, when Flask is installed, we create a server file that is going to be called server.p. We can use the name that we want, but the extension has to be py because it's Python, and if we put another thing, it's not going to work. And we put this code using Flask and making a message when we connect to the website, and we use the certificate in this host that it's our machine in the port 443. That is the HTTPS port. We start the the Python server with sudo python 3 and the name of the file, and it is going to say that it's running. And now we open the web browser in the Kali Linux, not Windows, because we are doing this in the same machine, and we put 127.00.0.1 to go to our machine, and we are going to see this warning because the certificate is not validated by a real CA. It's auto-signed. Okay, we continue to the website, and we are going to see that we are using HTTPS, and it appears the message that we put in the previous server file. Okay, we can enter to certificate manager inside the website, and we see that it's using the certificate that we have created. Okay, now we have to create a key for certificate authority, and we create the new key file with the name that we want, and then we create the new certificate of the authority. We return to the certificate manager in the Explorer, and we go to authorities, and we click in import. We have to import the key file that we have created, and we select all the fields, and we click OK to trust to this certificate authority. And in certificate manage, it's going to appear our certificate authority. Okay, now we generate a new key, and we make a new certificate using our authority to sign the certificate. We deactivate Python, and we run again, and we return to the website because it's using the old certificate, not the SIDNet. And now we go to the server file where we use the case, and we add our new case. We create a new certificate using the certificate authority and the config file, and we make another with authority and case. We restart Python server, and now if we go to the website, we are going to see the warning that we have been seeing previously, and on terminal we are going to see the connection that we do. Now we are going to use Mailvelope. That is, we are going to use it in our machine in Windows, and we need the extension Google Mailvelope, that is to protect emails, with a special protocol, and we need a Gmail account. We install Mailvelope, and when we enter, we see in the setup that we have to generate a key, and we use our Google account or Gmail, the name that we want, and we have to put a password, and we generate. We are going to see the key generated, but it's not validated because we have to accept in our Gmail. For this, we have to enter in our Gmail account, and we are going to see a message from Mailvelope that we have to accept, and when we accept, we are going to see that the state is valid of the key and it is ready to be used. Here we see the message that Mailvelope tells to us that we need to validate the key, but here it is ready because it says that it's valid. Okay. When we go to our mail, we are going to see a special button for Mailvelope, and we need to put the password to activate Mailvelope in our account. Okay, we are going to see that the mail address is verified, and that the key server is synchronized with the account. And now we are ready to use Mailvelope, sending encrypted mails with the need of a key to see the content. We have to export our public key. The private, we have to save it and not share to any person. And the public, we export it in a file, and we send to any friend or any person that we want to send a mail with the love to let him read the mail using the key. Okay, here I send the key to a friend in the special extension of the file that is ASC, and the friend or any person sends his own private, public key, and we have to import in our key manager in Mailvelope. Now in the panel of keys, we see our keys that we have the public and private, and we have the public from our friend to see his mails. We create a mail signed with the key that we are going to send to the friend, and we put the content that we want, and we click in sign and send. We wait until he answers, and the mail put that it's signed, but as we have the key, we can read it. If we didn't have the key, we are not going to see the content. We are going only to see signs and that we can read the message. Okay, now we are going to do disk encryption, that we are going to to use again Kali Linux, and we are going to go to our virtual machine settings, and we're going to add a new hard disk that we can be the size that you want. In this example, I put 5 gigas. In Kali, we have to update our machine and install crypt setup, that is the application that we are going to use to encrypt our disk. Okay, with fdisk-l, we see the disk that we have in the virtual machine, and we are going to work with the new, the other node, because it has the operating system, and we can broke, and we have to delete the machine and create another. So we are going to work with the new disk. Okay, we create a new partition with this name, that is the name that we see previous here. That is the disk dev SDA. We create the new partition and we put the partition number that is going to be the first, so we put 1. The space, we can leave that any number, and we are going to see the message that the partition table has been altered, and it's going to create the partition. With fdisk-l again, we see now the new partition that is ready. Okay, now we have to format the partition with ext4 extension, and we're going to put this command with the name of the partition to change the format. Now we have to create a new directory for the partition, and we mount the partition in that directory to save the files and the thing. And with dfk, we're going to see the partition with the directory that it's using to save things. Okay, before editing these files, it is recommendable to open, if we are in VMware, and we are using, for example, Kali, it is recommended to take a screenshot to save the virtual machine state, because we are going to see a problem that I have, and if you have that problem, it is better to go to that virtual machine state and return to do it. But we edit the fstab file, adding our partition with the directory and the extension that uses. But now we have to unmount the partition because we need to encrypt. We see with ls-blk the partitions we have, and we see with dfk the partition that now is not running because it's unmount. Now with crypt setup, we put this command and the partition, and we start with the encryption process. We put this command to open the partition in root mode, and we enter the password of the partition. This password is important because later we are going to use it when we restart the computer. So we have to put a passphrase that we have to remember. we create the new mapper root directory to the partition and we use it. Now in the cryptab file we have to add our new the partition that we have created, and in fstaff file we have to add the partition with the new encrypt directory. And here it's where I have an important problem. That is that when we finish the previous steps, we have to run systemctl daemon reload and start the crypt setup service. And we see this message that it failed. If we see this, is that anything is not working, and we don't reboot and we don't shut down the machine because it's not running well. Here I continue and I mounted the partition again and I reboot the machine. Until here all seems that it's running well because it is we have to enter the password that we create previously to enter to our virtual machine, and now it is answering for a password because one disk is encrypted and we need the password to enter and see the content. But when I put the password, the Kali Linux doesn't work well and open the emergency mode, and we see that the root account is logged, and in this screen we can do anything. So to resolve this problem, I power off the virtual machine and I restart it, and Kali, when it power on, the first screen that appears is this. So we'll click letter E to open what is BIOS in Windows, and here in this line at the end we change the word that are here for init bin bash to start the machine in console. So when we write this, we press K control plus X, and we are going to start Kali with the virtual machine in recovery mode with the root account. Then we are going to see that it put rows plus none. But here we have to go to the cryptab file. That is one that we edit previously, and we have to comment this line. And in the fstaff file we do the same. Okay, I made a cut, but we were talking about the files that we did, that is cryptab and if stuff, that we comment the lines because something is not running well and we have to comment, and then we reboot the machine and we're going to start again without using the encrypted partition, and we're going to go again to console. And now we run again the commands of the service, and the diamond, and we don't see the red line, and now it's okay. With crypt setup, we can see the information of the encrypted partition. But now we are going to do the analysis of password and memory. We create a non-secure code with the extension py of Python, and we're going to put a file that to introduce a password. Okay, we start the Python file, and we have to enter any password. We update our machine, and we install GDB if we don't have, and done. Now we put this command to search the process that it's using Python with the name of the file, and we see these two processes. Okay, we put sudo cat with this command that here we are putting one number of the previous processes that we see about the file, and we see these two numbers that are the parts of the RAM where the information of the file is being saved. Okay. With GDB we can extract the map information from the memory. So we put GDB p and the number of the process, and we're going to enter in the GDB console, and we put info proc mappings to see the processes that are running, and we select the process 6708, that is the previous process, and we see the information. Now we put this command to dump the memory of the process, and we quit. We're going to have a file generated in binary, and we put this command to convert into strings to be available to read it. And when we enter to the file, we are going to see the password that we introduced previously in the terminal, that it's saved in the RAM memory. No, and this for hackers and bad people, it's important to don't save the passwords of the RAM because they can't see it. So we are going to install Python cryptography. And now we edit the previous file or we create another one using the cryptography and encrypting the password. But now we run the new file and we try passwords, and we're going to see that the message put the encrypt password, and here we put this line for this example to see the password decrypted, but this we don't have to do it in any server or website. It's only for this example. So now we search again the process that is running and the RAM parts. With GDB we see again the mapping info, and with the memory. We convert again the file and this time we search the password, but we see that it is encrypted. We can see it because it's not saved here, or it's encrypted and we can see it. Okay, now we are going to use IOT Modbus, and we have to download from this link, and we start with Java. With ls we see that it has been downloaded from the link, and we install. We are going to see this screen, and we don't have any slaves for work, so we create an init, and we put, for example, one number or the word that we want, and we add. We are going to see here our new slave, and in properties of the slave we can add new registers that can be from 1 to 10 or what we want. It is going to create a table with the registers and values that now it's set up because we don't do anything. But now with nmap we see our Modbus port, and we see that it's closed. The port we see here that it use 502. So we start Modbus with the port, and we see that now it's open. So we open an MSF console, and we search info about Modbus, and we're going to see all these commands available. But now we are going to put the information of Modbus or host, that it's this. We're going to put the action that is going to be write register. We're going to put the number of the register that we are going to write, and then the data that we are going to send. When we click run, we're going to see all these lines that are sending and writing the register, and we are going to see this message that the operation has been done correct. And now when we enter to Modbus, we see the value that we sent from MSF. Here we have the register 6 with the value. So that's all for today. I hope you liked the video and you learn many things, and we see you next time. Bye.